Hey, I'm Pascal from Orange Pixel and I'm currently working on Residual and I'm implementing teleportation because, well, it's a big world and teleportation makes everything a lot easier. However, I ran into a couple of problems, game design problems. Not so much a problem, but more there are many options and ways to do it and which is the best way for this game. So, how do I explain this? Right. Let me show you. I have an app for it and let's say you have a teleporter and it has just one button and you can press that button and it teleports you to a different spot. Sorry, it's a word thing. But what if you have multiple teleportation hotspots that you can go to? And you only have one button. How do you decide to which teleporter spot you teleport? That's where the problem started, for me at least. Right. It's a word thing, just a word thing. Alright, that was a little bit messy, sorry for that, but as a game developer you pretty much have all the options available. You just have to figure out which one you want to use, because every option you want to try and implement, that needs a lot of work. I think I found one that works for Residual, so we'll talk about that after the intro. Alright, so adding the teleporters this week was a bit of a problem. Design-wise, it's not a real problem because there are lots of options for every idea you can come up with. It's just which options do I want to add. If I have a lot of teleporter options, like a lot of ways you can teleport, a lot of positions you can place them, I needed to add something like a map or overview so that you can actually pick one of those spots. I tried it, I created a little map overview, but since the world is pretty big, that map was very messy to look at. It wasn't really clear. It wasn't, I just didn't want a map. Let's put it like that. I didn't want to add a map to this game at all. Another option was like some sort of elevator type functionality, so that if you were at a teleporter, you get to pick, do you go upwards or downwards, since all the spots would be either down in the cave or higher up in the cave. It's an idea, but it's not the idea I went for. I decided to pick the most easy solution for all, just two teleporters. You get to place them wherever you like as a player, but you can only go between those two. So the first one will be placed at your crashed spaceship, because that's pretty much a tutorial type thing that explains to you you should be placing a field generator here. And you don't have to, but it's the best thing to do at the beginning of the game, because you'll want to be able to get back to the ship as quickly as possible whenever you run out of energy or just need some sleep in your spaceship. So the first one is placed at your ship, the second one can be placed wherever you like, and you can then use it to teleport to your crashed spaceship, sleep a little bit, and then use that teleporter at your ship to go back to the one you placed there, pick it up, take it with you and place it somewhere else. It's an interesting system. I still have to toy around with it and play around with it and see if it holds up during the game, but for now it's an interesting system and it works, and there might be a point later on in development that I think I'll have to do something completely different, but I'm kinda glad I got this fix up and running this week. So placing that first field generator near your ship has become pretty important, because this week I also added replicator or printer-like devices to your spaceship. You now have a computer at the front of your ship, which so far has no functionality, and it will tell you it's broken. So it's there, and I'm not sure what it will be, but I guess you'll have to fix it first, and we'll see. Haven't thought about that all just yet. The second device is at the back of your ship, and that's a very important one, because it will allow you to print or create devices that you can use for mining, because I also added mining to the game this week. How the replicator works is pretty simple. You'll find resources scattered all over the planet, and some of those resources can be brought back to the ship and analyzed by this replicator device. If it has analyzed something, it will spit out a little package, and that package is called a deployable, which is a device that you can place anywhere on the world, and it will start mining for the resource that it's based on. So right now you can mine for energy source or metallics. You just place this deployable somewhere on the planet and it will just start pumping out resources, so that you don't have to cover the whole planet just to find these resources. And right now you can place these things anywhere you like, but I think I'll be limiting the spots to certain areas where there's a lot of those type of resources, so that you actually have to take those deployable devices and really move them down into the cave to certain hotspots where you can then mine for these resources, and you need those resources to craft stuff that you'll need to fix your ship or whatever else is there to do on the planet. And finally, I've been spending a huge amount of my time in the recent weeks on the interface and instructions and some sort of tutorial, or at least easing the player into the game and the gameplay. And most of that is based on the feedback I got from the demo in the Steam Game Festival, and a lot of that feedback was good and positive and constructive. Just a bunch of things I didn't really consider because well, first of all, the game is far from done, so usually I don't dive into user friendliness until I'm much further in the process. I did a lot of stuff for the demo just to hopefully get it at a certain point that it was playable, but many people got stuck just at the overworld area and didn't even get down into the cave, and that's a little bit of a problem. But I knew there's a bunch of stuff that need help and tutorial instructions. But I also know that a lot of stuff that I could add those instructions to might completely change by the time I release the game, or are just not done, or might just be removed before then. So putting in the time to add all these instructions and tutorials and things would have been a huge waste of time. So it was a little bit a rough demo, and hopefully the players understood what to do and figured out what to do. It's true that a bunch of those things just could have been done better and needed to be done better. So I've also been working on all those things. And at some point I'll try to do a new demo, a public demo in some form, either on Steam or on itch, or I'm not sure yet. But a lot of those things got improved already. So that's a good thing, and that's all the positive stuff that came out of the demo, including about 200 wish lists and maybe some coverage here and there, but not as much as I would have liked. So the Steam demo is done, and the next phase is pushing towards a release of this game, and maybe, like I said last week, doing a Kickstarter for the game. Not sure yet. It's still a very scary thing, but it's very at the top of my mind. Now, not all the feedback I got from the Steam demo was positive. That's why I was in a bit of a mood when I did get the positive feedback or the constructive feedback, and wasn't really interested in going into interaction with people who gave me that feedback. For example, there was one guy who absolutely didn't like the graphics, or at least not the smoke effects and not me rotating graphics, because you should never rotate pixel art in his opinion. And to be honest, if we could do rotations and smoke effects back in the 80s, when we actually only had pixel art because of low resolutions, we would have done the rotating and the smoke effects back then. Thing is, it just wasn't possible on computers back then. So now these younger graphic artists think that it's not part of pixel art, but if we could have done it in the 80s, we would have done smoke effects and lights and all those things, because it just looks a lot cooler. There were also a few people not liking the sound effects at all, but I know that most of those comments usually come from people who are sound effects creators themselves, and if you interact with them, the first thing they'll say, I can do the sound effects for you if you want better sound effects. So that's just a weird marketing thing, but it's all those little negative thingies that stack up, and especially when you release a demo and you live towards releasing a demo, having all those negative things drains a lot of energy, and then the positive feedback or constructive feedback piles up on that, and it's just a messy thing. But all the constructive feedback is in the game. Most of it was very true and very on the point. It's all handled. And that's it for this week's video, because right now it's about 30 degrees and it's a very small office. The sun is hitting this office for the next 8 hours. I'm gonna get out of here because I'm sweating all over, and that's not gonna be an interesting video. So hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next week. Bye. Right. And it teleports you to a different spot. Sorry guys, it's a work thing.